Hey everyone, it's been over 2 minutes and I haven't been raped yet. What's a girl to do? Well, we're about to find out. Stop playing break free from your chains, to break free from your cage. What we don't want to do is go back to a traditionalist world. Hi everyone, Diana here. Today's video is brought to you by a wannabe female MRA, and this is what she had to say. Hello, Diana. Thank you for your videos and your hard work. Since I started watching your videos, the way I see marriage and relationships between men and women has changed a lot. I'm still new to MGTOW, and I'm just trying to understand how it works and what I can do to help. I'm married, and I have children, and I love them very, very much. While I admit I didn't know about MGTOW when I decided to marry him, I don't regret having kids. And I like the fact that we as individuals are free to choose if we want to have kids or not. But I understand now how traditionalist society is bad for both women and men. I was never a feminist, and I value men and women. I value my husband, and I want to do right by him. How can I do that now that I'm married and have children? I am very involved in their educational, working really hard to make sure they become strong, sensible, responsible, critical, and independent individuals. Is that enough? Probably not. And that's what she had to say. All right, so I had a message exchange with this woman, and the details that came out about her situation and her so-called desire to support men is extremely revealing. This is not a new conversation, and in fact, I'm going to use clips from a video that Spetsnaz did called The Female MRA. And there have been a lot of men who are extremely leery of the number of women who are suddenly flocking to the men's rights movement. And so far, not so much flocking to MGTOW. It was suggested to me that I don't do this video because one of the side effects might be that I won't get messages like this anymore. And this is not the first time. I actually think that that's not going to be a problem because they are so sure that they can metagame people, they're not going to give up. But I'm going to use this conversation to talk about, not just like in my last one, how women manipulate men, but how women metagame and how to see through it. And a lot of these female MRAs aren't here for the right reasons. This one's even worse than that. And I don't think she's a really rare example. Let's get to it. I'm going to start out with a clip from Spetsnaz. And this is what he had to say.
Now, don't fool yourselves. I mean, these women, these female MRAs, they're no different to any other woman. Their motives are the same. And yes, I mean, they're working it from a different angle, but it's manipulation all the same.
So before we get into the more detailed exchange, her start-off question here had a couple of weirdness factors to it. One is her statement, we as individuals are free to choose if we want to have kids or not. It's kind of a strange statement coming from somebody who claims to be investigating men's rights because men don't have the ability to choose, only women do. And she's bringing up children for a really important reason. She'll be very, very focused on her children, and children are to women political tools. They're facts on the ground. If you can get a guy to impregnate you and you have children together, all of a sudden his choices are now limited and you can warp his dreams into a narrative about the children. And MGTOW get this all the time. But what about the children? And she explicitly asks this, how do MGTOW see raising children? But that's a weirdness factor. And also she said that she is very into their education. One of my first questions back to her was, when you say that, do you mean you work and then you come home, help them with their homework and talk to them about their aspirations for their education and their career? Or are you telling me that you're a stay-at-home mom who homeschools? Well, you can guess which one it turned out to be.
Now, women know how to manipulate to get their own way, and they've known this since they were little girls.
My husband and I are in this process of understanding MGTOW together. You appeared on our YouTube feed in the last few months. We got to MGTOW because we support Gamergate and are anti-feminist. Well, there's some good news. Gamergate apparently leads to MGTOW. Exciting times. But you'll notice in this, her husband isn't just doing MGTOW himself. He's not finding out about it himself. They have this world in which they do everything together. It's even their YouTube feed. He doesn't even have his own YouTube feed. So hopefully this gives you a picture of what this guy's life is actually like. He's got to do MGTOW with his wife, right there at his side, controlling how it goes down.
But these women, their agenda isn't about defending or empowering men. It's about their own self-interest. How will this affect me as a woman?
So I'll give you an overall picture of their life situation and how it all came to be where they are at now. They met in university and got married after a very short time period. Potentially she's read Judgy Bitch's old blog on how to get a Mrs. degree while you're in university. Unfortunately for her, only 6 months later, he drops out of school because he didn't really like his course of study, and he got a job in England. She finished her degree and then claims she gave up her career to follow him to England. What career? She just graduated. Having a degree does not equal having a career, and this is going to be a recurring theme with her as well. Gave up her non-existent career to follow him to England, a whole other country. Problem is this. They lived in the EU, which means that she could have gone to England and still worked without requirements for a visa or whatever. She could have pursued her career fresh out of university, no matter which EU country she was living in. But she didn't do it. She says that she was working in a potato factory and working as a cleaning lady and then struggling with a part-time self-employment job. And just as this took off, he got a job in another country and they moved to Canada. And she had to give up her career yet again. What career? Potato factory work? Cleaning lady? A part-time blog? There's no career here. And she's creating a narrative that you would hear in divorce court when a woman's going for alimony.
Because women, they think strategically, while men fumble around in the dark looking for validation. Women are portrayed as victims, as incapable of manipulation. But just because women give themselves the title of MRA, we're supposed to disregard centuries of women manipulating males?
Alright, so the storyline goes now. She's moved to Canada. She finds herself 7 months pregnant, as if that wasn't the actual career that she was working on. Finds herself 7 months pregnant and lets this guy haul her, over to Canada, where they had to sleep on the floor and slowly rebuild their life. Him weren't doing all the work and her being pregnant. And she was left so alone, her hardships were so great, that she even had to give birth by herself. You can't make this up. My husband was busy working, so I did everything by myself, including giving birth. Both times. Alright, so as you can hear from that, they ended up with 2 kids. They're both quite young. And yet again, he gets another job and they have to move, this time within the same country, but to the other side of it. And she's left having to care for these kids on her own, sell the house on her own, and pack it all up, and then fly on a plane all by herself with 2 sick kids. And in fact, she's sometimes sick and there's nobody there for her either. Now, keep in mind that this isn't supposed to be a story about her and how tough her life is. This is supposed to be a story about how she respects and honors and wants to help her husband because she values men. We haven't got to that part in her story yet, and it magically never really shows up. Let's go on.
It's cognitive dissonance on the part of men. They want to believe that the plantation isn't so bad, and that there's good slave masters out there.
So she then reveals that her husband spends his time working in a day job and then coming home and at night trying to work on his dream job, which is a game developer. And this is obviously how they came to Gamergate and so on. He wants to be a game developer, and his dream, she tells me, is to be self-employed. But there's a bit of a problem. It might get in the way of their dream to have a 3rd child. Now, she said that they both agree, because I suggested to her that one of the things she could do is arrange their lifestyle. They can't just run out and get divorced, maybe not so practical, they could arrange their lifestyle to be living like roommates, splitting the bills. And she says, well, no, he wouldn't like that. He wouldn't be happy with that. Neither one of them would. And besides, it's too much paperwork. He says he is lazy and not too good at taking care of people. I'm okay with paperwork and the taking care of people and things, so it works for us. All right, so she's saying that they can't actually live as equals with responsibility in the household because it's too much paperwork. And as it turns out, it's her job, apparently, in the household to deal with paperwork. And she's okay with it, except for that, sometimes it's too much, if it comes down to things like her paying her own bills. More stunningly in this, she says that he self-describes himself as lazy, right? Now, of course, she's already explained that he's out there working so hard that she's completely left on her own all the time. And then he comes home, and what does he do? He works. And she has got this guy convinced that he's lazy. She says he self-describes as lazy. How does this happen? Are you fucking kidding me?
And if women infiltrate, they'll control the dialogue. And it'll be harder for men to recognize the dangers and the warning signs. You think about it, it's no coincidence that they're infiltrating now. Just when men going their own way is gaining traction.
So what's really going on here? She says, when both kids are in school, I will try to rebuild the career I had to give up in order to follow my husband around the world, anywhere his job took him, and later in order to raise the kids, so he will hopefully be able to make his dream come true to be self-employed. We might have to give up on having a third child, but we'll see. We'll see. Oh, yes. Now, when women have conversations about their problems with their husbands with each other, it would sound something like this. Well, he thinks that he can just quit his job and become self-employed because of some dream. Yeah, well, we'll see about that.
These women, they deserve no more praise than a man. Remove the praise, and then see how loyal these female crusaders of men's rights are. Yeah, prove me wrong. By all means, put it to the test.
So her problem is this. She's told us that she and her husband agreed that a woman should stay home with the kids until they're at least 5 years old. Well, kids grow annoyingly fast. And she's about to run out of time. She needs to have this third kid to justify her continuing to stay home. And again, with this giving up of a career to follow him around. Well, wouldn't that just sound great in a divorce court when you're looking for alimony? So, does she support this guy? No. He is coming across MGTOW because of being in the gaming industry or trying to get into it. And his dream is now going to interfere with her plans to get that third kid that can justify her staying home without having to feel guilty about it. So she's got to get in there and somehow control this discovery, right? Oh, she's so confident. She's going to go in here. She's going to find out what this MGTOW thing is all about and somehow manage to connect it to having a third child. I have always been there for them 24/7 with no help from anybody, even when I'm sick. But he pays the bills. My part-time job, which can only be part-time because I need to take care of the kids, doesn't pay much. Now he wants to go self-employed, but we would still like a third and last child. Did you notice something here? Because this is pretty much the conclusion of our message exchange, and then I told her to go fuck herself. I don't entertain this kind of fakery, and neither should you. Did you notice that she pretty much didn't talk about him at all? She claims that she's fascinated with this new understanding of the problems that men face in the world and their hardships and, the ignoring of their problems. You could say maybe she hasn't researched it very much, but she's not trying. Her entire message was spent talking about herself and telling me how hard she worked, devoted to him, and he never did anything. She was always struggling. She gave up this and she gave up that. And 24/7, she's taking care of these kids and he doesn't help her at all. And the only description of him is his self-description, apparently, that he's lazy. Again, this is a woman who claims that she wants to become an MRA, and I think that's what she means, because she obviously can't tell the difference between MGTOW and MRA. If she was to study, try and get in with the MRAs instead of the MGTOWs, she'd probably meet with a lot more success. Because her story actually is a story that could have been told pretty much verbatim by another female MRA.
I mean, to truly go your own way, a man needs to be independent, not governed by the perception of others.
So I'm going to link to the Spetsnaz video below. I've taken those clips out of order. I captured it with the time sequence in there so you can see where it jumps around and stuff. There's a lot more in that video that's really relevant, and we need to keep this in mind, because this conversation is just one of many different types of conversations that go on. Now, I was kind of playing around imitating Sandman. I'm going to also link to one of his videos below, where a woman named Jenna wrote in. She'd been studying this concept of the ideal woman, as she's heard MGTOW and MRAs talk about what they'd like to see in a woman, and she presents a self-description that's absolutely stunning. What it is the perfect combination of everything that a woman thinks a man wants a woman to be. And then her actual supposed question is, what more do you want? I think you need to stop asking women to be this impossible ideal, because look at me, I'm all these things, and apparently y'all don't want me. So I'll link to that one below too. And this video is basically to point out that whenever you get a chance to listen to a woman talk about her personal circumstances and her motives and stuff like this, pay really close attention. And also to say, all the guys who are really leery about female MRAs, keep it up. You got really good reason. Because this chick who wrote to me, she is the next female MRA. And did she actually care about her husband? No. He has a dream. And she's got to take over his dream and convince him that what he really wants to do is have a third kid. And she's going to somehow try and she can pull this off, convince him that he could be a MGTOW and still give her the third kid. And the whole time, she's got this stunning, stunning story to tell a divorce court judge about why he should be paying her alimony.
The fear of men encroaching on female privilege, and the fear of men controlling the dialogue. But, of course, ask a woman, and she'll project this right back at men, saying that the men are scared, threatened, and so on. Hardly.
All right, I just put that clip in because I like the way that he says.
Hardly.
And now for the rape joke of the week. It's really hard to rape women. It has to be. Otherwise, it doesn't go in right.